Hey everybody, I am going to try to cover most, if not all, of the international friendlies. Just very brief reaction and analysis of some results that took place throughout the globe yesterday. We had a lot of friendly games taking place, a lot of them at the same time, so it was pretty much impossible to check all of them out. But the ones that I did not watch, I saw match commentary, lineups, highlights, etc. So there's a lot to dive into. This could become a long video. Um, so I'm only going to talk about friendlies that took place between World Cup teams. There are a few other friendlies that are taking place the last few days and for the rest of this week, uh, involving teams that did not qualify for the World Cup. But since we're getting closer to the World Cup, my focus is mainly on, for the most part, teams that did make it because we need to, sort of do a scouting report of grazing the land to see what these teams are looking like heading into Russia 2018. So let's jump right in. And since I mentioned Russia, let's start with the host nation. Russia played Brazil yesterday to what was a predictably dominant performance by the Brazilians, a 3-0 victory. But I did watch this match, and I have to say, Russia does look better ever since the 2017 Confederations Cup. They held Brazil 0-0 until halftime, even had a chance to go ahead through main forward Dmitry Smolov, who I think is going to be their central attacking force this summer, forcing the Brazilian goalkeeper to make a couple of saves. Russia actually had an opportunity a couple of times to take the lead in this match, but eventually the resistance was broken early on in the second half. I think it was the 52nd minute or so. Brazil, broke the deadlock. And then from then on out, the floodgates just kind of opened, kind of thing. And Brazil went on to win 3-0. But Russia put on a respectable performance. For some stretches of the game, it didn't look like Brazil was really up for it. But it was the second half when Willian really made a couple of really nice runs in the box, where he found Paulinho to tap in what was essentially a rebound shot. But Brazil, even without Neymar, you expect them to defeat Russia. I mean, because, Brazil, Russia. So, but since my Egypt team is playing Russia in the World Cup, this is a little bit of a worrying sign for me because the host nation has improved. So, maybe they're going to be a lot harder of a challenge than most people expect. I still have Russia advancing from their group. They do look like they're in better shape compared to the Confederations Cup last summer. So good for Russia. And Brazil, they should win a game like that, and they did. Moving along, Saudi Arabia versus Ukraine. This ended in a 1-1 draw, with Saudi Arabia coming from behind to tie the game 1-1. This is a good result for Saudi Arabia. Ukraine is an excellent warm-up match in preparation for the game against Russia. Not just for the fact that they're neighboring countries, but they play a very similar brand of football. I think Ukraine is individually better than Russia, so this was a good test for Saudi Arabia. Ukraine have players like Stepanenko, Piatov, Yarmolenko. I think even Rotan, as old as he is, he's still in there. They have one of the best domestic leagues in Eastern Europe. You saw Shakhtar Donetsk also almost get to the quarterfinals of this Champions League season. They got to the quarterfinals before a few seasons ago, if I remember correctly. So I think Ukraine is a good test for the Saudis in preparation for Russia. They probably could not have picked a better team to prepare for their opening match against the host nation, because I do think Ukraine is better than Russia. Maybe not by much, but it's a positive sign for the Saudis. Egypt, Portugal, I talked about that yesterday. So Uruguay, early on in the day, defeated the Czech Republic 2-0. That game also bore witness to what could have been possibly the goal of the day through Edinson Cavani for Uruguay on the counterattack. Scored a wonderful bicycle kick. Go watch the highlights of that. I did not watch that match. It was very early in the morning in U.S. time, but Uruguay looked like they're on top of their game. Like I said, they finished second in South America. They're riding high. They should top Group A with 9 points. They're a good candidate to go on a deep run again, just like they did in South Africa. I think if they really hit their stride, they have an outside chance of possibly winning the tournament. But, Uruguay, they should beat the Czech Republic. You expect them to, and they did. Moving along, Morocco versus Serbia. This was one of the matches I was looking forward to the most. Really interested to see, because I think one of Morocco or Serbia, possibly both, can spring a surprise in Russia, maybe pull up what Costa Rica did in 2014. Um, Morocco was really impressed with them in this match. They finally relinquished a goal, which was remarkable because they didn't concede a single goal in the final round of qualifying. They took the lead over Serbia through a penalty. Serbia equalized. And then I think, who scored Morocco's second goal? Was it Ziyech? I don't remember, but it was a great goal from across from a header. And I did not watch this whole match. I only saw highlights of it because, again, you have like 10, 15 or so matches taking place at the same time. But this was one of the ones that I was most interested in, and Morocco put in a really good performance. And looking at how, going back to Portugal just for a second, yeah, it's a friendly. Portugal did not field their strongest lineup. But Portugal, like I said before, Portugal, no matter what lineup they tend to field, they tend to play to the level of their opponent. Morocco is not just a good defensive African team. They're a good defensive African team that can score. So I think Morocco is going to cause a lot of problems, not just for Portugal, but for everyone in Group B, Spain and Iran. I'll get to Iran in just a moment. But Morocco is looking like they could be the potential Costa Rica of 2018. They look really good right now. I am a big fan of Frenchman Hervé Renard's, who is their manager. His philosophy, I think he's probably the best coach that the African continent has seen in the last decade or so. Every team every national team this guy manages, he somehow just turns it into gold. One second. Sorry, a little bit of a cough. I think Morocco can do something in this World Cup. They can do something. Will they have enough to beat one of Spain or Portugal to one of those top two spots in the group? It's going to be hard, but I think they're probably, on paper, I think they're the second best team in Africa right now, behind Nigeria. I put them slightly ahead of Senegal, slightly, because I just think that they're more defensively astute than Senegal are. And I'm going to get to Senegal's result versus Uzbekistan in just a moment. Moving on to Iran. Iran played Tunisia yesterday, and they lost 1-0. But to be honest, it was really unlucky. And I would tell my my faithful subscriber, Danny Arefi, to don't get too worried. I mean, I saw a large part of that match as well. Iran was really unlucky to score an own goal late in the second half against Tunisia. It probably should have ended in a draw. So don't read too much into this loss, Danny. Not yet. Just wait to see how they do in other friendlies. Iran themselves being the best defensive team in Asia, against Tunisia. You play up against a team that is relatively on their same level. It's a good preparation match uh, when they're preparing to play Morocco in the World Cup. So they picked a good team to play against uh, to, get ready for that. Moving along, France versus Colombia. I'm gonna save that for another video because it's we need to talk about France. We need to talk about France. I'm gonna make a video for that. Hopefully today. Australia versus Norway. Australia got thumped 4-1 against Norway. Now, losing to a team that did not qualify for the World Cup is one thing, but getting thumped by a team that in the last decade have been not doing so great in Norway, who has failed to qualify for a major tournament, I think since, what was it, Euro 2000 or France 98? That's bad. That's not looking good for Australia because they play a much superior offensively gifted side in Denmark at the World Cup. That's going to be a big problem for Australia. So I'm worried for my Socceroos, my Aussie bros. I want you guys to do well. I want you to advance, but gonna need some improvement and fast. They took the lead through Jackson Irvine, and then Norway just went on a 4-goal route from then on. I believe one of their players, Camara, got a hat trick. So maybe Norway could do something in the future where they can actually, qualify for Euro 2020. I believe they have manager Lars Lagerbäck, the Swede who took Iceland to the Euro 2016 quarterfinals. So maybe Norway might be returning to the national scene. Who knows? But for Australia, it's not a good sign. But it's still relatively early-ish, so we'll see. Peru. Peru defeated Croatia last night 2-0. I believe Edison Flores, did he score both of their goals? I know he scored one of them. I didn't see the whole match, sorry. But I know one of the goals came from a counterattack, and it was pretty well set up. That Peruvian winger, I forgot his name, but his speed is just amazing. Croatia, they're a team that just they don't live up to their potential. They don't. I mean, they have one of the best midfields in the world with Modric, Rakitic, but they don't quite get there, especially when major tournaments arrive. They don't quite get there. So if that's the case, that Peru got a 2-0 victory yesterday over a decent, even though not as good as they can be, Eastern European team, that's good news for Peru. Happy for Peru. I did not get to watch your match last night, but if that was what the result was, then good for you. I hope things are looking up for you. Let's see. Denmark versus Panama, I talked about that. Argentina versus Italy with a 2-0 victory over the Italians. Messi did not play, apparently, which I agree with that decision from Sampaoli because he has to figure the squad's chemistry out and get them to adapt to not playing without their star striker, the best player in the world. The thing is with Sampaoli, I don't quite understand what he's doing with the whole Di Maria and Mauro Icardi situation. Oh, excuse me, the Dybala and Mauro Icardi situation. There's a chance, rumor has it, that they won't be at the World Cup, or that Sampaoli is willing to leave off big names on the 23-man roster for his own reasons. I know that he plays a very specific brand of football, and it may help Argentina over time. Maybe they just need a few more matches to really adopt his the same style that he used for the Chilean national team and with Universidad de Chile. But I don't know. Can someone explain what's going on with that? The whole Paulo Dybala, Mauro Icardi situation. Is Sampaoli really considering leaving them at home for the World Cup, or just to sort of give the national team a test run of what it would be like without those players? So let me know. Croatia played Peru, yeah. Nigeria defeated Poland 1-0 yesterday. This was a match I did not see. I did see Victor Moses' foul in the box and the penalty. A few questions over whether or not that was a foul, but I can understand why the referee would give it. I mean, on any other day, it would not be given, and some other days it would be given. It's close. It's close. Uh, for the most part, Poland and Nigeria, from what I heard, the match commentary as well, Nigeria played to Poland's level. They played toe to toe with them, which is good because you're doing that against one of the seeded teams of the World Cup, who is supposedly supposed to be a top 8 side. Have my own disagreements with that, but it's a good sign for Nigeria to prepare them for that match against Croatia, which is why they played Poland. Even though Poland and Croatia are different teams, I still think that this is a positive sign for Nigeria. They haven't lost a single one of their friendlies ever since securing qualification. So they look like they're in a spell of good form at the moment. And I mentioned before, Nigeria, I said the Super Eagles are flying high. The best team in Africa. They just came off of a dominant qualifying season. So it looks like their good form has been seeping out into their friendlies, and maybe it'll follow them into the World Cup. The World Cup preparation process also for Nigeria has been running smoothly lately, and that's good news. It's something new because Nigeria usually tends to enter a World Cup season with some uncertainties, some problems with the federation, you know, payment of players, etc. So this is really good for Nigeria. Now, from what I heard, also Poland had a potential goal that was disallowed. Other highlights including the fact that Poland had a couple of clear-cut chances to score, but just couldn't break the deadlock. That's their problem. That's not really Nigeria's problem. So Nigeria, the consensus seems to be that they did not play their best in this game, but they did what they needed to do. And at the end of the day, a result is going to weigh more in your favor than a performance. Context and performance is very important. I believe that. But it says something about a team where they can play average or not at their best and still find a way to win. And that's what Nigeria did. So that's good for Nigeria. Moving along, Switzerland versus Greece. This was a really not very entertaining game, but Switzerland just about pulled it out with a 1-0 victory. But you see Greece play, and they're not a very prominent side on the attack. They're very defensive-oriented football. Not boring, because I like defensive football too. But, they don't score very many goals in a lot of their games. Switzerland, their goal-scoring issues are sort of continuing, but it's understandable why they would get a narrow victory over Greece here, because Greece is just structured that way. So, Switzerland, there's still uncertainty there. We still have to see how they play in other friendlies going forward. I'm still skeptical about the Swiss, though. Who else played? Brazil, I already mentioned that. Costa Rica beating Scotland 1-0. I didn't see that match. I can't really comment on Costa Rica versus Scotland. But they should beat Scotland, so that's good that they did. Serbia, I already mentioned. Sweden plays today. South Korea plays today, so haven't seen them yet. Belgium plays today. Panama already played. Tunisia, Iran, mentioned that already. But from the Tunisian perspective, it's a positive result. They came up against a formidable defense, although I'm not sure if playing Iran is really to Tunisia's benefit here, because none of their opponents in the group are going to be like that at all. I mean, sure, Panama might sit back and put numbers behind the ball against them, but Iran is not that kind of team. And when Tunisia comes up against Belgium and England, they're probably going to be the team that is more defensive minded. So I don't really know what Tunisia. I don't really know what the benefit of it was for them to play Iran, just because their opponents in the World Cup are just different. They're just drastically different. I'm not saying that they're just better. I'm just saying that they just the style is just completely different. The identity is completely different of the teams. But you know, Iran's a good team, so if you beat Iran, it's a good result, regardless. England defeated the Netherlands 1-0. From what I heard, this match was really lackluster and it was boring. Not very many highlights. I did not see England versus the Netherlands, but a lot of the reception from England fans that I read online, specifically on Reddit, the consensus was that it was a dull affair, and a lot of England fans seem to still be pessimistic about their chances in Russia. Understandable. It's not a very exciting England team to watch, but England fans, I still think it's efficient. I still think you're not giving yourselves enough credit here, because yeah, the Holland did not qualify for the World Cup. True, but they're still Holland. So and you couple that with the fact that England drew with Brazil, they drew with Germany, scoreless draws, but still they beat the Netherlands. That's three big teams. That's three big traditionally named powerhouses that England got positive results against. So I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that gloomy. I don't think it's that dreary for England. I think England fans need to give their side a little bit more credit. I think you're going to be okay at the World Cup. Moving along. Yeah, Poland, I already mentioned. They lost to Senegal, to Nigeria. But Senegal's next. Senegal. This was a weak result. Huh. A 1-1 draw with Uzbekistan. Now, Uzbekistan is a decent Asian team who has been unlucky to not qualify for the last two World Cups, but still, they're not among the best teams in Asia, and Senegal should beat Uzbekistan. So this is a little bit of a worrying result. I know, again, it's a friendly, but still, the amount of talent that Senegal has, it just kind of makes me wonder whether or not this team is experienced enough to go ahead against bigger names in less than 3 months' time. That's one of the reasons why I'm sort of weary on Senegal of coming through their group. I think they absolutely can go through their group. It's just that you go back to the 2017 African Cup of Nations. They had an early exit when they should have probably won that tournament. So there's the whole question of whether or not Senegal, this generation of young Senegalese players, whether they'll be up for the occasion or not. We'll see. We'll see. But I think that there is a lack of experience here, and moreover, possibly this indicates a lack of sort of a discipline. But who knows? I mean, we'll have to find out. Colombia, France, I'll mention that in a separate video. Japan, yeah, Japan don't look good either. Japan played Mali to a 1-1 draw, where they had to score in stoppage time to avoid defeat. They had to score in the 95th or 96th or so minute to scrape a draw against Mali. Mali, a West African team that used to be much better during the days of Seydou Keita, but Mali did not qualify for the World Cup. They did not win a single game in the final round of African qualifying, finishing bottom of their group. And Japan just when they come up against an African team that can outmatch them physically, speed, agility, I just think that they're going to struggle. And against a much better team like Senegal, they're going to struggle a little even more. So this is not a good result for Japan. I don't really know how to read into this. I did not watch this because this match was early on in the day, but almost losing to Mali is probably not a good indicator. Moving on, I didn't get to the last match that I saw last night, which was Iceland versus Mexico. Mexico played not at their best, in my opinion. I thought they did have moments where they looked really proactive and aggressive on the ball. They kept playing a high line and kept high pressing Iceland, which I kind of did not like because whenever Iceland won the ball back and they went on the counter, Mexico was a little bit exposed at the back. So Mexico needs to be a little bit careful of playing too high of a line up the pitch, in my opinion, especially when they go up against a team like Germany or Sweden. But for the most part, Mexico is quite impressive in the fact that they can play absolutely average and still get a dominant scoreline against a fairly decent European team in Iceland, because Iceland is a pretty decent European team. One of 9 group winners in their qualification group, ahead of the likes of Croatia and Ukraine and Turkey, Euro 2016 quarterfinalists. Mexico didn't play their best last night, and they still beat them 3-0. And I really liked Marco Fabian's free kick. There's a question of whether or not that it was a foul on the edge of the box or not, but Marco Fabian, he needs to go to the World Cup. He needs to go to the World Cup. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't it Marco Fabian that scored that goal, the only goal against Germany last summer at the Confederations Cup? That was a screamer. That goal was a screamer, too. They still got manhandled in that game, but still, it was a consolation goal. Yeah, Marco Fabian needs to be on Juan Carlos Osorio's short list for Russia 2018. If he doesn't go to the World Cup, that's criminal. It's criminal. Iceland, from their perspective, I think they're okay. As far as how do they interpret this result, I think they'll be fine. You lost to the best team in the world outside of Europe and South America, so there's no shame in that. Iceland had a couple of really good opportunities too. They hit the post in the second half. They've made a couple of really good run-ins in the box. Iceland's footwork was really, really good as well. I thought that their passing in the final third was their passing was probably even better than Mexico's for most of the match. So Iceland are going to cause problems in the World Cup. They're not going to be anybody's whipping boys whatsoever. The final match I want to talk about before I wrap up this video, the big one in my opinion, was Germany versus Spain. Sort of like my voice is getting dry from talking so much. Was Germany versus Spain, which played out to a very exciting 1-1 draw that could be a prelude to a potential World Cup semifinal later this summer in July. This was way too exciting for a friendly, in my opinion. The intensity was just off the chain. I thought that the thing with Spain, when they went ahead in the 6th minute, Spain is just one of those teams. They're just like, it's hard to describe. Their ability to find their ability to make passes in such tight areas of space. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like it. The the through ball to Rodrigo in the box where he gave Spain the lead. Not many national teams in the world can create space out of thin air like that. That's the thing about tiki taka. A lot of people don't like tiki taka, and this is still Spain under tiki taka, but it's not the same tiki taka from 2010, 2012, or even 2014. It's evolved. Julian Lopetegui has sort of put his own style in it. It's still the, passing game. But Spain's ability, I'm going to say it again, word for word, Spain's ability to find those little tiny nook and crannies of space where others wouldn't dare to pass in order to move the ball forward. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like it. This the high pressing passing. It's I don't know what a word for that is. Because you look at some of their link up play up front. You look at those passes from an aerial position or from a commentating box, they look like relatively impossible angles of geometry. The fact that they can just do that is nuts. It causes defenses headaches at the very least. Thomas Muller giving Germany the equalizer with a thunderous goal, nonetheless. My opinion, I thought it was the best goal of the day. Thomas Muller's just found the upper right-hand corner. It was a thunderous shot from just outside the edge of the box. That was a very, very German goal. Very German-esque goal. Those are the kind of goals I think Spain struggled to score. But I think in this match, you look at Spain's goal, you look at Germany's goal. That was a very Spanish goal. That was a very German goal. My opinion. I don't want to get too much into it because this video is getting too long. My voice is getting raspy. I need to drink some water. But I will respond. I'll make that France video hopefully later today. So I'll see you. Have a good one. Much love and peace.